3 a.m. wake-up call. Leo surfaced from a dream of dancing wrenches and shimmering pipes to the ragged sound of Lily's cough. It clawed at the silence of the apartment, each hack a tiny, desperate plea. He bolted upright, heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The digital clock on his nightstand glared 3:07 a.m. "Lily bug," he whispered, already swinging his legs over the side of the bed. He found her sitting up, her small chest heaving, illuminated by the dim glow of her nightlight. Her eyes, usually sparkling with mischief, were wide and filled with a dull, uncomfortable panic. "Daddy, I can't breathe good," she rasped, her voice thick with congestion. Leo scooped her up, the familiar weight grounding him. "Okay, sweetheart, we'll fix it. Nebulizer time." He carried her into the living room, fumbling for the machine in the dimly lit space. The cool plastic felt reassuring in his hands. He quickly filled the chamber with the prescribed dose, the faint medicinal scent filling the air. As Lily inhaled the mist, her breathing gradually eased, the frantic rasp replaced by a softer, wheezing sound. He sat beside her, stroking her hair, a wave of exhaustion washing over him. Just when he thought he could finally catch his breath, a frantic pounding erupted at his door. Bang! 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 The sound vibrated through the apartment, shattering the fragile peace. Leo frowned, annoyance warring with concern. Who on earth could be knocking at this hour? He carefully laid Lily back on the couch, still connected to the nebulizer. "Stay right here, bug. Daddy will see who that is." He peered through the peephole. Brenda Olson, his blonde, bubbly, and normally meticulously put-together neighbor, was a mess. Her usually bright eyes were wide with distress, her hair was disheveled, and her oversized floral bathrobe was soaked through. He hesitated for a split second, then unlocked the door. Brenda practically barreled into the apartment, her voice a panicked rush. "Leo, thank God. My pipes, they exploded. Water is everywhere." Her hands flew to her face, her voice cracking with near hysteria. "I don't know what to do." He could hear the tremor in her voice, see the genuine fear in her eyes. Lily coughed again, a reminder of his own responsibilities. He glanced back at his daughter, then back at Brenda, a knot forming in his stomach. He was a plumber. He knew pipes. He also knew Lily needed him. "Brenda, calm down," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "Tell me what happened." "I woke up and it sounded like a waterfall. I ran to the bathroom and..." She gestured wildly. "Just come see." He looked at Lily, her small face trusting and vulnerable. He couldn't just leave her. But he couldn't ignore Brenda either. "Okay," he said finally, making a decision. "Lily needs to finish her treatment. Can you give her the nebulizer if she gets fussy? Keep an eye on her. It's really important she gets this dose. Then, after, I'll come over and take a look. Promise." Flooded house, rising rates. The cloying scent assaulted Leo before he even registered the scene. A heavy, fetid miasma of soggy fibers and nascent mold hung thick as Brenda swung open the door. He crossed the threshold, his boots issuing a muted squelch against the waterlogged rug. This wasn't a mere trickle, it was a full-blown inundation. Water had stained a dark tide mark halfway up the walls, and the floorboards emitted a mournful groan under his weight. "Oh, Leo, thank heavens you're here," Brenda's voice wavered, threading with anxiety. She twisted her fingers, a portrait of raw distress. "It's far worse than I realized." Kneeling, he ran his palm along the water-bloated drywall. It yielded with pathetic ease. Where'd it originate? "Upstairs, the bathroom. The toilet, I think, overflowed while I was at work. It must have been gushing for hours." Leo rose, his gaze sweeping the disaster. The living room was a catastrophe, but he could discern the creeping tendrils of water damage extending into the hall, most likely infiltrating adjacent rooms. This wasn't a Band-Aid situation, it demanded wholesale reconstruction. Carpets would need ripping up, saturated drywall excised, a comprehensive mold treatment initiated. The scale was daunting. He turned to Brenda, striving to project calm. "Brenda, the damage is significant. We're looking at more than just a pipe repair. This is substantial water remediation." Her face crumpled. "So, what does that entail?" Leo hesitated. He'd initially quoted a bargain basement emergency rate, envisioning a simple plumbing fix. He hadn't foreseen this magnitude of devastation. "I'm going to need to revise the estimate. This is a far more extensive undertaking than initially apparent. Material costs alone will be considerable, and the labor, well, it's a multi-day project." He named a figure, flinching inwardly as the sum escaped his lips. It felt exorbitant, yet accurately reflected the scope of the work. Brenda simply stared, her blue eyes widening fractionally. Then, she released a breath, a palpable wave of relief visibly softening her features. "Okay," she murmured. "Okay, Leo. Whatever it takes. Just, please make it right. I'd be lost without you." Her unexpected acquiescence caught him off guard. He'd braced himself for haggling, perhaps even a flash of anger. "Right," he managed, his voice a touch hoarse. "I'll get started immediately." He retrieved his phone. First order of business, confirming extra babysitting hours. Breakfast and bonding. The cacophony from Brenda's apartment had dissolved, replaced by a percussive clatter suggesting a cookware ensemble. Leo, cradling a still dozy Lily, paused at her doorway. The deluge was stemmed, thanks to him, but the morning was in ruins. Before he could wrap his knuckles, the portal swept inward, revealing Brenda. Her flaxen hair possessed a slightly less sculpted air than the night before, yet her smile remained a beacon. "Leo, Lily. Come in, please. I feel dreadful about all this. Let me at least offer amends with breakfast." Lily, instantly captivated by Brenda's vivacity, squirmed, eager to be released. She waddled inside, drawn by the siren song of warm pastries and robust coffee. Brenda's kitchen was a vibrant kaleidoscope, a world away from the austere minimalism of Leo's own abode. The table was set, a charmingly mismatched tableau of china hosting a overflowing cornucopia of bronzed crescents and jewel-toned fruit tarts. "Please, sit," Brenda implored with a nervous flutter of her hand. "I insist. I always overbake. It's a bit of an obsession." Leo, still carrying the remnants of his unwelcome early rising, gratefully seized a mug. The brew was potent and dark, banishing the final tendrils of sleep. Meanwhile, Lily was waging a joyful war with a croissant, leaving a confetti of crumbs upon her face. "You're wonderful with her, Leo," Brenda murmured, observing his gentle efforts to clean Lily's face. "I don't think I could have faced a plumbing crisis and a toddler before my caffeine fix." Leo offered a shrug, warmth rising in his cheeks. "It's just what you do, I suppose." He fumbled for words. Praising his parenting felt odd, like commendation for a baseline expectation. Brenda's gaze lingered, tinged with a shadow of wistfulness. "It's more than that. You're so patient, so engaged. I sometimes see you both in the courtyard, just lost in play, and it stirs something in me." Her voice faded as she worried a rogue crumb with her fingertip. "Never mind." The silence deepened, punctuated only by the chime of Lily's spoon against porcelain. Leo felt a tug of emotion he struggled to define, a blend of empathy and a novel, unfamiliar tenderness. He wondered about the nature of Brenda's yearning. He wondered if, beneath the cheerful facade, she battled the same loneliness that haunted him. He knew he did. The rival plumber. The wrench skidded in Leo's slick grip, clanging against the aged porcelain of Brenda's toilet. A muttered curse escaped his lips. This repair was rapidly spiraling downward. Just as he'd believed he'd pinpointed the source, a fresh torrent of rusty liquid erupted, drenching the linoleum. A booming voice reverberated from the hall. Plumbing woes, are we? Appears a seasoned hand is needed. Leo's head snapped up, annoyance sparking within him. A burly figure occupied the doorway, radiating an unnerving self-assurance. A spotless white jumpsuit proclaimed, Big Joe's Plumbing, in assertive, crimson lettering, a world away from Leo's own faded and dirt-streaked attire. I've got it covered, Leo retorted, swiping his brow with a grimy hand. Big Joe guffawed, the sound like nails on a chalkboard to Leo's ears. Covered? Looks more like you're drowning in it. An hour, that's all I'd need to banish this aquatic disaster, guaranteed. And at a price that won't sting. He winked at Brenda, who hovered anxiously nearby. Rapid response is my forte. Swift, dependable, and budget-friendly. A knot formed in Leo's gut. Speed wasn't his strong suit, nor rock-bottom prices. His reputation rested on integrity and meticulousness, qualities Big Joe seemed to dismiss with an airy gesture. I appreciate the thought, Brenda stated, her voice possessing surprising steel. But I called Leo. He's here now, and I have faith in his work. Big Joe's smile wavered. Faith? With all due respect, madam, this situation calls for, let's just say, a touch more, know-how. He swept a dismissive hand across the sodden scene. I can discern that this young man is floundering. Brenda advanced, her blue eyes hardening into chips of ice. Leo's doing perfectly well. I'd rather have it done right than rushed by someone unfamiliar. She placed a hand on Leo's shoulder, a gesture that pulsed through him like a warm current. Thank you for dropping in, but we're all set. The color deepened in Big Joe's face. He sputtered, momentarily deprived of speech, then, casting a final, withering glance at Leo, wheeled around and lumbered off. The slam of the front door echoed through the house. Leo gaped at Brenda, momentarily robbed of speech. He hadn't anticipated such a staunch defense. Thanks, Brenda. I truly appreciate you standing up for me. A smile softened Brenda's features. Don't give it a second thought, Leo. Now, let's conquer that leak, shall we? Late night repairs. The wrench slipped, skinning Leo's knuckles against the cold, unforgiving pipe. He swore under his breath, a small plume of condensation puffing out in the frigid crawl space beneath Brenda's house. Just great, he muttered, sucking on the back of his hand. It was past 11, Lily was probably asleep on Brenda's couch, and the leak, which he'd initially thought was a simple coupling issue, turned out to be a corroded section of pipe that needed replacing. Everything all right down there, Leo? Brenda's voice, laced with concern, echoed from above. Peachy, he replied, perhaps a bit too sarcastically. Just wrestling a particularly stubborn length of galvanized steel. A moment later, Brenda's head appeared in the access hatch. Here, she said, handing him a flashlight with a magnetic base and a small plate piled high with cookies. Figured you could use some light and sustenance. Leo gratefully accepted both. The flashlight stuck firmly to the pipe, illuminating the cramped space with a focused beam. He took a bite of a sugar cookie, the sweetness a welcome contrast to the metallic tang of the pipes and the earthy smell of the crawl space. Thanks, Brenda. You're a lifesaver. Don't mention it. Lily's out cold on the couch. She seems comfortable. There was a hesitant quality to her voice, as if she were choosing her words carefully. Leo felt a pang of guilt. He should be home, tucking Lily into her own bed. She gets attached easily, he said, rubbing the back of his neck with a greasy hand. Probably thinks you're the coolest babysitter ever. Brenda smiled, a genuine, warm smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes. She's a sweetheart. And don't worry about her. I'm happy to have her. He spent the next hour wrestling with the pipe, cutting, threading, and tightening. The crawl space was a torture chamber of low clearance and sharp edges. Just when he thought he was finished, he tightened one fitting a little too much, hearing the sickening crack of old metal giving way. No. He threw his wrench down in frustration. Brenda poked her head in again. Everything okay? I heard a sound. Leo sighed. I just made things worse. I have to go back to my place for another fitting. This is going to take even longer. He felt defeated, acutely aware of the dark circles forming under his eyes and the grime coating his face. Don't worry about it, Brenda said, her voice surprisingly firm. I'll keep an eye on Lily. You get what you need. We'll be here. Her simple reassurance was enough to give him a second wind. He knew he could trust her. And that, more than anything, made the prospect of facing the recalcitrant pipes a little less daunting. The kitchen geyser. Leo tightened the last fitting, a bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. All right, he muttered, wiping his hands on his jeans. That should do it. He turned the main valve slowly, his ears straining for the telltale hiss of escaping water. Nothing. A sigh of relief escaped his lips. He'd actually managed to fix Brenda's ancient pipes without flooding the entire house. Is it fixed? Brenda asked, her voice trembling slightly from the doorway. She hadn't ventured further into the kitchen since the initial explosion of rusty water. Looks like it, Leo said, offering a tired smile. Just gonna run the tap for a bit to make sure everything's flowing smoothly. He turned the cold water faucet. A steady stream gurgled out, then cleared, running clean and clear. See? Good as new. He was just about to turn off the tap when disaster struck. There was a sickening crack, followed by a whoosh. A jet of water, powerful and unrelenting, shot upwards from a point where the new fitting connected to the old pipework. It hit the ceiling with a resounding thwack, showering them both in a cold spray. Oh, God! Oh, God! Brenda shrieked, backing away frantically. It's worse. It's so much worse. She clutched her head, her blonde hair already plastered to her face. Leo swore under his breath. He hadn't tightened that connection enough. Panic threatened to overwhelm him, but he forced himself to focus. He couldn't leave Brenda's house to become a swimming pool. Okay, don't panic, he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. I can fix this. He dove for the sink cabinet, rummaging through a jumble of cleaning supplies. Nothing that could help. Think, Leo, think. His eyes landed on the utensil drawer. He grabbed a large, wooden spoon and a rubber spatula. It was a long shot, but it was all he had. Hold this, he yelled, thrusting the spatula into Brenda's hand. Press it against the leak as hard as you can. He grabbed the wooden spoon and wedged it against the pipe, trying to reinforce the spatula. The combined pressure managed to deflect some of the spray, turning the geyser into a less violent fountain. Harder, he shouted over the roar of the water. Press harder. Brenda, her face contorted with effort, leaned into the spatula with all her weight. The water still sprayed, but it was manageable, at least for the moment. Leo knew this was only a temporary fix. He needed to shut off the water again, but he couldn't leave Brenda struggling with the makeshift dam. I'll be right back, he yelled, and dashed out of the kitchen towards the main valve. Blueberry pie and awkward silence. The geyser had been wrestled into submission. Leo, soaked to the bone and smelling faintly of mildew, surveyed his handiwork. A makeshift patch, duct tape, a rubber gasket liberated from his toolbox, and a silent prayer, held the pipe in a tenuous truce. I think that'll hold until morning, he said, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. Brenda, still clutching a dish towel, let out a shaky breath. You're a lifesaver, Leo. I don't know what I would have done. She gestured around the now damp, but no longer flooded, kitchen. Please, let me get you something. Coffee? Iced tea? As if on cue, a small missile launched itself from the doorway, wrapping its arms around Brenda's leg. Lily. Thank you, Brenda, she chirped, brandishing a crudely drawn card. Crayons bled across the construction paper, depicting a stick figure Brenda with a halo, rescuing a stick figure Lily from a swirling blue sea. Brenda knelt, accepting the card with a watery smile. "Oh, Lily, this is just beautiful. Thank you, sweetie." She looked up at Leo, her blue eyes softer now. The initial panic subsided. "I was just about to bake a blueberry pie. Would you two like to stay? As a small token of my gratitude." The air thickened. Leo shifted his weight, suddenly intensely aware of his damp clothes and the grime under his fingernails. "We wouldn't want to impose." "Nonsense," Brenda said, already moving towards the oven. "It's the least I can do. Besides," she added, her voice dropping a notch, "I enjoy the company." He helped Lily take off her shoes and coat. The aroma of baking blueberries soon permeated the air, a sweet, domestic scent that felt foreign. Lily, oblivious to the undercurrents swirling around them, chattered about school and her drawing, filling the silence that threatened to engulf them. Brenda slid the pie onto the counter, its crust golden brown and bubbling. She cut 3 slices, the knife clinking softly against the ceramic plate. As they ate, the silence returned, heavier this time, laced with unspoken questions and tentative smiles. Leo found himself watching Brenda, noticing the way the afternoon sun caught the blonde strands escaping her bun, the faint crow's feet crinkling at the corners of her eyes when she smiled at Lily's stories. He hadn't really looked at her before, not properly. He cleared his throat. "This pie is really good, Brenda." "Thank you, Leo." Her gaze met his, held for a beat too long, then flickered away. "It's nice having you both here." The silence stretched again, thick and blue as the pie filling, pregnant with possibility and the unspoken weight of their differences. 20 years. He was 20. She was, well, he didn't know exactly, but definitely not 20. He focused on his pie, the sweetness suddenly cloying. A hesitant babysitting offer. The scent of lavender lingered in the air after Brenda left, a ghost of her hurried departure. Leo found himself smiling as he rinsed the last of the breakfast dishes. He'd actually enjoyed her company, and Lily clearly adored her. "She's nice, Dada," Lily had declared, patting the spot on the sofa where Brenda had sat. He admitted it to himself, he'd enjoyed Brenda's company too. It was nice to talk to someone other than Lily, someone who understood the struggles of leaky faucets and overflowing washing machines. And, he'd been surprised by her easy laughter, the way it filled his small apartment. The following days blurred into a familiar routine of work, Lily, dinner, and bedtime stories. But the memory of Brenda, her warmth and genuine concern, lingered. Friday evening, as Leo wrestled with Lily's unruly curls before tucking her into bed, a knock echoed through the apartment. It was Brenda. Her brow was furrowed with concern. "Leo, everything all right?" He gestured for her to come in, worry twisting in his stomach. "Yeah, why? Is it the pipes again?" Brenda shook her head, a sheepish smile gracing her lips. "No, no plumbing emergencies tonight, thankfully. I was wondering if you had any plans this weekend." Leo hesitated. "Just the usual. Park in the morning, maybe a movie at home." "Why?" Brenda took a deep breath. "I was thinking, well, I know you're always so busy. I was wondering if maybe I could babysit Lily for a few hours on Saturday. Give you a chance to, relax. Or catch up on sleep. Or, anything." His heart skipped a beat. A whole afternoon, free. The possibilities felt dizzying. He could finally fix that dripping showerhead, or maybe even go to a movie himself. But the thought of leaving Lily with someone, even someone as kind as Brenda, made him uneasy. He hadn't left her with anyone besides his mom since her mom left. I don't know, Brenda. That's really kind of you, but, no pressure at all, she said quickly, her cheeks flushing pink. I just thought. Lily's such a sweetheart, and I'd really enjoy it. Plus, I owe you one after the plumbing fiasco. He looked at Lily, now nestled in her bed, her thumb tucked in her mouth. She seemed content, safe. He looked back at Brenda, her eyes full of genuine warmth. Maybe, just maybe, he could trust her. Okay, he said, the word feeling foreign on his tongue. Okay, Brenda. That would be, really great. Makeshift family. Leo killed the engine, the familiar gravel crunch under his tires a welcome sound after a long week. Lily, practically vibrating with excitement, unbuckled herself before he could even offer. Brenda's waiting, she squealed, scrambling out of the car. He watched them disappear into Brenda's house, Lily's bright yellow raincoat a splash of sunshine against the muted gray siding. A wave of gratitude washed over him. Knowing Lily was safe and happy with Brenda for the weekend was a weight lifted. He hadn't realized how much the constant juggling act was wearing him down until it eased, even for a few days. Saturday night, Leo found himself standing awkwardly on Brenda's porch. Her sister, Carol, a petite woman with a sharp wit, answered the door. Heard a lot about you, Leo, she said with a knowing smile, ushering him inside. Lily's already decided I'm her new best friend. Brenda emerged, smoothing down a simple blue dress that made her eyes look like the summer sky. He swallowed, suddenly aware of his own patched work jeans and slightly too small button-down. Ready? She asked, her voice a little breathless. The movie was forgettable, the pizza greasy, but the conversation flowed easily. They talked about everything and nothing, Lily's obsession with dinosaurs, Brenda's dream of opening a pottery studio, the ridiculous reality show Carol was currently obsessed with. Leo found himself laughing, genuinely relaxing for the first time in months. He even confessed his age insecurity, and Brenda just laughed, playfully punching his arm. Sunday evening arrived too quickly. Leo picked up Lily, who regaled him with tales of Carol's impressive collection of board games and Brenda's attempts to teach her to knit, attempts that mostly resulted in tangled yarn and frustrated sighs. Later that week, Brenda invited them over for dinner. The aroma of garlic and herbs filled her cozy kitchen. Lily, perched on a booster seat, chattered non-stop about her day at school. Brenda, her cheeks flushed from the heat of the oven, expertly tossed pasta with a creamy sauce. Leo set the table, a comfortable silence settling between them, punctuated by Lily's enthusiastic pronouncements about the magic noodles. As they ate, a comfortable warmth settled over Leo. He watched Brenda patiently cut Lily's chicken into smaller pieces, the way she listened intently to her stories, the easy laughter that bubbled up between them. It wasn't perfect, not by a long shot. But in that moment, surrounded by the scent of good food and the sound of shared joy, it felt like something close to family. A makeshift family, born from a burst pipe and a shared need for connection. And for the first time in a long time, Leo felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, things were finally starting to fall into place.